As I write this, I listen to the sound design created by David Lynch and Alan R. Splett for Eraserhead. David Lynch was part of my life before I even knew who he was. I was lucky enough to read Kafka's The Metamorphosis as a junior in college for an English class. My mind was consumed and confused and excited that someone thought just like me. Any Lynch fan knows that Lynch loved Kafka. He said so many times. There's even a photo of Kafka in FBI Director Gordon Cole's office in Twin Peaks: The Return. I should mention the other photo in the office was of a nuclear bomb exploding. I agree with Alexander O. Philippe's suggestion in his film Lynch Oz that the root of all things Lynch can be found in the film The Wizard of Oz. I also believe all things Lynch can be rooted in the ideas of Kafka and the terror of the nuclear bomb. My whole life I wanted to be a doctor like my dad, so when I decided I wanted to be a filmmaker at 16, I was far behind in my consumption of cinema. This could be paired with the fact that I wasn't allowed to watch R-rated movies until I was 15. When I announced my desire to be a filmmaker, it was met with backlash. So I applied to a screenwriting program for high schoolers at NYU and I somehow got in. In fact, I was shocked because the ideas I'd been submitting to programs were apparently so disturbing that they didn't know what to do with it, and I didn't even know that was the case. At NYU, I pitched an idea for a screenplay that would carry me for the next decade. It was called George O. Duncan. The film was about George O. Duncan, or G.O.D. God, in heaven trying to lose his virginity before his testicles exploded. Simultaneously, the Earth and Moon were going to explode, so people were shooting off into space hoping to survive. The suggestion was that the Earth and Moon were God's testicles, and that the people of Earth were sperm. People thought I was insane when I pitched it. The only reason the teacher let me write it was because the other two ideas were even more insane. And the other reason was that it reminded them of a film I'd never seen before called Blue Velvet. The kids in my class said that Blue Velvet took place in an ear, just like George O. Duncan took place in testicles. After the program was over, I watched Blue Velvet. I did not agree that the film took place in an ear. But just as when I read Kafka, I felt like I found someone who understood me. I watched Blue Velvet over and over and over, but I never watched anything else David Lynch made until college. The first time I saw Eraserhead was in the middle of filming George O. Duncan as my thesis short film at the University of Michigan, which, by the way, every professor but one rejected to be made. I had turned my bedroom into a set for George O. Duncan, and I was playing George O. Duncan in the film, and I dyed my hair white to play George O. Duncan. So when I saw Eraserhead, I was in character. I don't think I'd left my room for a week. Years passed, and I decided to watch Lost Highway, despite being afraid it would terrorize me. A very interesting pattern began. Every time I watched something by Lynch, a script would pour out of me. One Lost Highway viewing led to a new short film called The Manicurist. Another viewing of Blue Velvet led to a new short film called The Way I See Maria. And then another viewing of Lost Highway's restoration led to my first feature film, Sydney. My film Sydney is mostly a one-room podcast recording that divides its characters into many levels. We see the real actors, the actors portraying characters, the actors portraying characters who are portraying characters, and the actors portraying characters who are portraying characters playing a character written by a writer in the film. And then, in the midst of all of it, there was what everyone working on the film called the Lynch sequence, right in the middle. I decided to steal the opening of Lost Highway, subvert cues from my favorite scene in Blue Velvet, and finally the main piece would be some version of the Red Room from Twin Peaks. But here's the thing, I never saw any of Twin Peaks before I filmed the Red Room. In fact, I picked it because TV is more popular than film, and I decided of all the art house sets I could attempt, this would be the most recognizable. Wasn't it Pauline Kael who called him the first surrealist populist? The term lynching gets thrown around so much that I'm not even sure I know what it means. And very, very, very few people can even live up to the expectations of it. I often tell people I don't want to be Lynch. And it's true, I don't want to be Lynch. But I want to offer someone else whatever it was that he gave me. Then at the same time, I guess I could say Sydney is just about a woman in trouble. Same thing as Inland Empire. I'm making this as fast as I can because I see Lynch is unwell. And I don't know if he'll ever get this thank you. I doubt he will. But I owe Lynch so much for letting me accept myself as a human and even try to be an artist. Also, I guess I probably should have mentioned at some point that I learned transcendental meditation when I was 17, if that matters at all.